We live. That's how you do it. All right, so we are in a new series talking about the love myths. And first thing I would love to say, thank you guys for braving the monsoon apparently we're having today. 50-mile-an-hour winds. Can we just hear it up for everybody that braved that and came out? Man. And so you guys, if you showed up today, you love the Lord. And I'm so glad to see how many of you guys are here. But we're going to talk about the love myths in this series as we go through. And so there's so many different topics we're going to hit as we go through describing love. But one of the problems we have with love is everybody has a different interpretation of it. And a lot of this goes back to myth. And we'll break down some of the different uses of love and different original meanings of the word love. And in America, we just have this one word. And so it confuses us and it throws us off. But there's also these histories and these myths that have attached itself to love. Like, have you guys ever just kind of had to deal with the fairy tale love scenarios that we've grown up with? Like, anybody in here that grew up during the era of Disney, it's kind of like we've been messed up. And if you're a dad, can we just have a moment of solemn, like, respect for dads in the face of Disney making us out to be the silent villain in every movie? Like, Disney decided they were just going to make dads the biggest idiots of all time. Like, they're always wrong. Like, you do not go to the surface. And then she goes to the surface and finds true love, and dad at the end is like, I was wrong, have legs. Right? Y'all didn't see The Little Mermaid? But that is nothing compared to what Disney had against moms. It's just like, just kill her in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Give this child a lifelong complex to where it's just, Bambi, cute little deer running, and where's mom? Exactly. You can always tell the PTSD of a Disney baby, right? And so when we look back at this, we start thinking, why do we have such a bad history with relationships? I think a lot of it's because fairy tales and myths and things that God said. If you ever look back at the original story of fairy tales, they're nothing like what Disney had. These were more cautionary tales that were telling you, listen to your dad, listen to your mom, listen to your family. But no, over time, we just switched that around. And so there are a couple questions I keep hearing, and I want to address these as we go through, and I want to tear some of these myths apart and find what some truth is. But I want to dig into these questions first. And the first one is, why do I have such a bad history with relationships? I hear this one all the time. And can I just be honest, this is one of the questions people ask and then they just move on from it. I think when you ask this question, you should make yourself answer it the second it comes out. Ladies, when you say, why do I keep finding the same kind of guy? Don't just ask that question. Answer that question. Why do I keep finding the same kind of guy? Here's a follow-up question. Where do I keep finding these guys? You know what I mean? If my idea of finding a guy is swiping through, that's like Sears catalog shopping. Like, it's not Amazon for men. Like, we've lost the ability to interact and get to know and build relationships. Guys, when you're sitting here like, man, I guess I got a type. Maybe you do. Like, maybe you're looking for the wrong things. The second one is, why do our relationships not last, or why do they end so badly? That's a good question to stop and think about. And are all your relationships ending badly? That's one of those things where you kind of think, if it's always, the equation is always me, that's where you want to stop and think. It's like if every room I walk into smells bad, there's a slight possibility I should have put deodorant on this morning. And then here's one I thought that maybe we should just throw into. What kind of relationship does God want me to have? In John 15, God says that he will actually remove from you even some things that could be good to get you to something that could be better. And maybe some of the things in our lives that God's removing is not God not answering our prayers, or it's not that God's just against us. Maybe it's God's actually for us, and we've been bringing some things in that aren't good for us. And so as we get into this, I want to take on the love myth. Now, there was one I had to learn about this week. And so I'm going to explain the difference. My daughter Reagan came up and said, Dad, there are a lot of young people who keep talking about twin flames. And I'm going to age myself out here for just a little bit. And I'm going to tell you, I had no clue what a twin flame was. I knew what a twin cam was. You could tell the men in this room. but I had no idea what a twin flame was. And so I looked it up and I realized I thought maybe it's the same thing as like a soulmate. And it comes from the same place. But a twin flame is supposed to be a mirror reflection of your soul. So it's like me, but the opposite. And there's like only one twin flame I can have in life, right? But in comparison to soulmates, a soulmate means we've got everything in common and that we're just like each other. But there's only so many soulmates, but I can have multiple soulmates in life. And I started looking through it and I started thinking, you know what? Maybe there are some examples of people that have built their relationship on the concept of being twin flames. And this is a new age teaching. And maybe there are some people that are just like, you know what? We're opposites and we butt heads all the time, but that must be a sign of love. And there are some people that think if we have everything in common, that must be my soulmate, and I've got to find my soulmate. And if we fall out of love, maybe we weren't soulmates. And so I thought, are there some relationships that I could grab and I could show people what it looks like? But I want to state this, and this is for legal purposes, so please hear me on this. No relationships were harmed in the making of these videos. These are not real life people, they're people, but these are all fictitious scenarios. Are y'all with me so far? Please do not find these people in the lobby and tell them you're praying for them because of what you're about to see. So the first thing I'd like to do is show you a video of Soulmates. Could we go there real quick?
The following dramatizations are completely fictitious. Any resemblance to real-life relationships, past, present, or your friend's questionable ex, is purely coincidental. No actual couples were harmed in the making of this video. Also, names have been changed to protect the overly romantic.
Okay, we're going to start with true love.
And we are just so in love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
10 out of 10.
So here's what happened. Basically, we met about 4 days ago, but it feels like a lifetime. We met at the movie theater, so naturally, like, we know we both love movies. We'll probably get married in a movie theater.
I mean, like, what's the odds of two people liking movies?
I was there with all my friends, and I saw him across the room, and I was just drawn to him. Like, I knew I had to go talk to him.
And I was definitely drawn to you out of all your
Yeah,
friends.
definitely.
Yeah.
Basically, over the last 3 days, we've been talking. We're true love. Like, we know everything about each other. It's really just like a match made in heaven. We met and I just automatically knew everything was perfect. And his birthday is coming up in April, and I've been planning something really big, a really big surprise for him.
My birthday's in December.
It's gonna work still because
Yeah, but you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Oh my
I just got tripped up. I was thinking of my birthday.
Obviously. Wait, your
and
birthday is next month?
So for his birthday, I've been planning something really big because I know he loves football and he's a big, big fan of USC. And so I got us tickets to go see this USC game for his
what?
birthday. Yes.
USC.
Gamecocks, that's why I'm wearing red. Go Gamecock.
My family is Clemson fans.
They're like both South Carolina, so it doesn't really matter. We're gonna go see South Carolina play football.
It does matter.
Nope, it's South Carolina.
If my family sees you in USC, you're gonna be the Sounds.
Red and orange.
I'll be the Sounds.
Red and orange are almost the same color.
Are you colorblind?
Listen, we can work this out. It's true love. There's no battle we're gonna face that we can't get through.
You're just becoming a Clemson fan.
So honestly, we're just really excited for this adventure. I'm working on finding the best date for the wedding. I need to get in contact with my parents. Obviously, you need to meet my dad. It's gonna be a big thing. So that we can start working on planning a wedding because we know it's true love. We know we're literally
meet
meant
your
to
dad.
Yes, we know we're meant to be together, so you might as well
yeah,
start.
but 3 days. I mean,
But we're in love.
Yeah, I
You're
get
the
it.
one. It doesn't matter. Oh my goodness, we're just gonna make the best couple. It's just gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
It's so I'm so
Amazing.
excited.
Me too. Wait, what's your name?
Yeah, so we've all met the people that they're looking for true love, and they rush, and it's like you're wanting something so bad you don't even know each other. It reminds me of middle school. You remember when people would put, this is going to date me, but you remember when people would put their name on each other's binders? Do they still have binders in school? You remember when you remember we had the cheap binders, and you could take the eraser and write with the eraser by erasing the color from the binder. And it was like, there was always the girl that would meet the guy, and at first break, they would fall in love, and they were getting married, and by the fourth quarter, they were broke up, and they hated each other. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, we think these things like, oh, it's true love, and so if things don't work out, oh, we're just going to fit it back together, and then we wind up blowing up, and we're miserable with each other because it wasn't true love. This is kind of like, it comes from the whole image of Cupid and his arrow. In Greek mythology, they believed in this guy named Cupid. I'm going to put an image of him up on the screen. And Cupid was this fat little man-child that was the son of Aphrodite, and he was supposed to be the personification of love. And so what he would do is he would fly around and he would look at people that needed to fall in love. Now, when we think love, the Greek word for love used here with him is eros. And now eros is not like agape love, like sacrificial love. It's not like phileo, familial love. This is lustful love, right? And so Cupid would fly by and he would see somebody and he'd shoot them with the arrow and they'd be like, oh, dang, she's hot. And then they would be in love, right? And we see this play out again and again in history, and it's so wrong. And you know, the truth is, Cupid really has kind of retired. He doesn't shoot people with arrows anymore. Now he's pretty much just the internet. And the only example I could find of somebody kind of falling in this kind of love in the Bible comes from Genesis. And it was Jacob, and he sees this girl, Rachel. And he's like, hearts, everything is just googly eyes. And it says that he saw her and he fell in love with her. That love at first sight, shot with Cupid's arrow. And he makes a deal to work for her for 7 years. 7 years. Dude, when my daughters were young, guys would come up to me and say, hey, Pastor Matt, can I date your daughter? I'd be like, not yet, you can wait. And if you'll wait, that'll be an extra sign that she's worth it to you. You know how many guys waited? 1, and he's married to her now. But the thing of it is this, Jacob had 7 years, he worked for her, and it says that it was like 7 days to him. Dude, that is straight up attraction. Now, think how hard that was for Rachel. She had to stay looking good for 7 years. Like, if you've ever got in shape to meet, like, you know what I'm talking about? You get in shape just to be somebody to be attracted to you, and then like when you got him, you're like, ha, bring out the cheeseburgers. These two had to stay in shape for 7 years. And then he's so in eros with her, he's so attracted to her that here 7 years comes to an end. Read it. I'm not joking. He goes to her dad and is like, give me my wife. Takes her to the wedding bed, doesn't even look at her, consummates. The next morning gets up and realizes it's the wrong woman. Ladies, how would you like to have a man like that? He's like, 7 years, girl, 7 years. And then he finds out he's married to her sister, Leah, which her name means lazy eye. And so he thinks he's married to the beauty model sister, but he got Leah. And then he goes to the dad and he's like, you tricked me. And the dad's like, ha, good one, right? And he's like, let me marry you. I wanted to marry Rachel. He's like, work 7 more years. And dude works 7 more years. And it says it feels like 7 days to him. And he marries her. And you're like, oh, well, that's gotta be true love, because look at how long he was willing to wait for her. And look how time just flew by. Dude, she pimps him out within a few days. Like, she's seriously pimping him to the other sister for these things called mandrakes. Like, that's like a vegetable. Do you imagine that your wife would be like, hey, yo, you want my husband for the night? Hook me up with some cabbage. That's the They have trouble the whole time. Don't fall in Cupid's arrow. Don't go after true love. Don't just base relationships off of appearance and attraction, because those things change. Now, I want to go back to the soulmates and the twin flame, and I wanted to show you what a person looking for a soulmate, just that person that's going to be everything I want them to be. They're going to be perfect. They're going to fit everything that I have in mind. When I meet this person, life will be great. Let's look at this next girl.
The following dramatizations are completely fictitious. Any
These are
resemblance
for
to
legal
real-life
purposes, we have to
past,
say this.
present, or your friend's questionable ex is purely coincidental. No actual couples were harmed in the making of this video. Also, names have been changed to protect the overly romantic.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Ann Grace, and I just am basically looking for my soulmate, my other half, the person who likes all the same things as me, even if he doesn't, but like he will. He takes me on dates like every night of the weekend, and will watch all of the dating shows with me, Bachelor, Bachelorette, Love is Blind, and even if he likes cats more, or like dogs for me, everything just all about me. All the time. I know that as soon as we lock eyes on each other, they're gonna God is going to tell us that is your person. And it's going to be like, we're the only ones in the room. He'll be a perfect gentleman, goes to the gym all the time, but not too big, like not too skinny, but also like masculine, just like perfect. He'll like Taylor Swift, do anything that I want to my house, like build me things. Everything. Like, I want the type of guy who won't get mad when I say that I don't want fries, but then I eat all of his fries. Actually, I want him to be just like this guy that I know. His name is Zach, but he's married. So, one that's not married, ideally. I'm Mackenzie and Grace, and if anyone hears a word from God on who my soulmate is, send it my way.
There are girls in here gagging and guys that are like shivering with fear. Like, and some of you have been like, yeah, I dated her. But the thing of it is, there is a very real concept of people thinking, I'm just going to find this person, and if it's God's will, it's going to all be like this. It's going to be a fairy tale. It's going to be my soulmate. And I want you to know where this term comes from. It was actually a term phrased in 1822 by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, but he was basing it off of Plato's Symposium from 385 BC. And this is a Greek mythology. And they believed that the gods had originally, there were these people that were called whole people. All right, I want to put a picture up of whole people. I want you to see this. So they had two heads. There are a lot of two-headed people, two-faced people out today. But they had two faces, 4 arms, and 4 legs. And this was what they considered a whole person, that these people were powerful and they existed. They always had each other's back and they could move in any direction. And Zeus feared these people storming Olympus. And so he sent a lightning bolt and cut them in half and scattered them over the earth. And if they were scattered, they would be so busy searching for their soulmate that they would be too busy to take on the gods. And when they finally found each other, they would feel whole again and they would never want to do anything to jeopardize that. And so the second image that we're going to put up, this is an actual ancient drawing, a representation of it. And this was a longing of people to find my other half. How many of y'all have ever heard that phrase? My other half, my better half, my soulmate. And a lot of times we talk about these things, but we have no history where they come from. We don't think about what we're actually saying. And this is a part about pagan mythology. And so when we think about a relationship like this, that's not what God really called us for. And if you want to find your soulmate, I want you to think about this. In the beginning, when God created man and woman, he breathed life, breath, which we would look at in the New Testament as pneumea, breath, where we get spirit, like soul. And so God put spirit from him being spirit into humankind, and our desire should be to join in oneness with him. And so if you want a soulmate, it's God. But if it's a person, what brings us together and makes us one is unity in the spirit, not in the flesh becoming some Siamese twin looking couple. And so the second thing in this was the twin flames. And I want to share with you this couple, just to share with you a little bit what this is. When opposites come together, and at first being opposites can attract us to each other, but if we're not careful, they can have some serious problems. I want you to see this family.
The following dramatizations are completely fictitious. Any resemblance to real-life relationships, past, present, or your friend's questionable ex, is purely coincidental. No actual couples were harmed in the making of this video. Also, names have been changed to protect the overly romantic.
Just twin flames, like, it's awesome. I love it. Be willing to go lay in bed at night and stuff and go cuddle her. You know, sometimes she's not really about that. She'll be like, I need my space. You know, I wake up a little bit cold. Sometimes she's got that little ice to her a little bit, but I love it. I mean, it's like we're match made in heaven, you know?
I mean, yeah, we're definitely twin flames, but he's about all that, and I just need some space sometimes.
You know, it's just awesome because you know how they say opposites attract. You know, yeah, she likes keeping her space. That's just her. That's fine. You know, you don't want to have two people born in the same month together. Ironically, we are. I think it's a match made in heaven. It just keeps on making me chase her even more. You know, I need validation, and I guess that's like my love language. She doesn't need it and stuff, and that's fine. I need it a little bit. It's great.
I mean, like, I get his need for validation, but like when you ask me 100 times in one day, I gotta go in the other room away from you.
Well, it's okay. I'm fine with going away and stuff a little bit. It's just sometimes you can say it from that other room.
I mean, sometimes I just really want a strong man, but it's okay because it just makes me a strong woman.
I'm a man. I've got muscle. I mean, it might not be big, but I'm a man.
Well, if you're such a man, then act like it.
You know what? I am a man.
Twin flames. Perfect.
So sometimes we find ourselves where opposites attract, but if we don't have a sacrificial love for one another, if we're not to a place to where we're constantly trying to become one with each other and we just like that separation, that opens the door for a lot of pain, frustration, and honestly, this opens the door for a bigger heartbreak later. Now, I want to say this, me and Tina, first let me put up an image of twin flames just so you can see the fire and ice picture. Now, in truth, this is me and Tina. Now, a twin flame scenario can work. Me and Tina are polar opposites. We're completely different people. We just went to Thailand together. And for example, Tina, she loves riding like animals and adventure and stuff like that. And I don't like riding anything that's got its own brain. And so we had to ride elephants and we had to go down and cross this river. Now, let me just show you an image real quick. This is me and Tina in Thailand crossing a river on the back of an elephant. Now you can see Tina's face. She's in heaven. She's loving this. Now look at my face. That's the best smile I'm in hell. I am in utter hell at this moment. That is the best smile I can muster for this picture. Because if you look, we're sitting on what is the equivalent of a 2x4, seesawing on the back of the biggest elephant there was there. And the only thing holding that rotted 2x4 on there is a strap going under this elephant's belly and that little teeny handbar in front of us. And we've got to go down a cliff, through a river, up a mountain, through the jungle with nothing but sharp drop edges with this big old fat elephant that can't seem to balance himself. And we're seesawing like this the entire time. So I'm trying to hold us. I actually have a video if you want to see it later. I'm holding us, trying to balance us through this. And Tina's sitting there saying, I can't breathe. But I'm keeping her safe. And this was a nightmare. And then we had to go over the mountain, back down through the river, and then I cannot stand this. It was horrible, but I loved her. And I'm gonna tell you how much I love her. We passed by a tree, and I could have grabbed that branch and pulled myself out and been like, I'll cross the river. I don't care if there's piranhas in it. I'll walk on water to get across that river, but I'll never do this again. But I stayed on the elephant with my psychopathic wife. Because I love her and we die together. And they said, the only way to cross the river is on the back of an elephant. Guess what I saw when we got back? A man with a boat. And I know I'm using a lot of visuals today, but in order to show you this, now I will eat anything once. And we were eating in Thailand this little, I don't know what to call it. It was, I guess, like street food. But we're sitting literally on the gutter where all the stuff is washing down, and we decided to have dinner. Let me show you 2 videos back to back of Tina's and my daughter Reagan's joy eating this amazing food.
Here we go. Duck and noodles, and this is liver, which I'm pretty sure is called Conway, and is the gray stuff from Beauty and the Beast. See how this goes. That's good. That was just the liver. Try the duck. Tina, you gotta try this. Hey, you want duck or just noodles? She's not gonna do it. She's just refusing to do it. I wanted to share this moment with all of you, but until now I'm just gonna show you Reagan's face of joy. So I want to share this moment of Tina and Reagan sitting right along the side of a gutter, eating dinner. Reagan's face says it all. So we're 12 hours ahead of everybody, so what is early morning to y'all is the end of the day for us. Reagan, have you tried it yet?
Oh
Isn't that not some of the best flavor you've ever had? Seriously. Hey, Tina, have you tried it yet? Let's see if we can get Tina on camera with her first bite. Just your first bite, Tina. There you go. There's a little pork and rice right there. Go ahead. Lady T. Lady T eating some pork and rice here. Nom 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 nom. I promise it's one of the best things you've had.
Now watch, notice I can't get a video of her actually swallowing the
We'll
food.
stay on you until you swallow it.
Now, I ate it and I enjoyed it, but that was the only bite I saw her take the entire trip. She lost like 7 pounds on that trip, you know what I mean? But the two of us are completely different. But the thing that makes it work is opposites can attract, like Paula Abdul said, you know? I mean, you can tell how old the people here that got that are. But the problem with it is, if you're basing it off the thrill of being opposites, later on you're going to start finding out that you're going to pull apart. And if you don't have alignment in your core values, if you don't have alignment in your beliefs, if you don't have alignment in why you do what you do, you're never going to be able to come together on the most crucial things. So yeah, you can be opposite people, but you have to be the same in your pursuit spiritually with one another. Because if we don't align those things, we're in for nothing but a heartache of pain. Now, there's one final couple, and I'm not going to show this video right now just because of time, but this is the people that I call the gravitational people, and they fall in and out of love. And this is one of the most deceptive phrases we hear in our society, and it's that I can't help it, I fell in love. Now, I do agree that you need to be cautious who you spend your emotional time with, because emotionally, you can connect with somebody on a desperate level because you like them and enjoy spending time, and sometimes you can find yourself in a conflictual trap because you've given yourself over to somebody. But let me say this, love is not like a basket. You don't fall into it. It's a choice. And it's the same as you don't fall out of it. And so we start hearing these justifications later in life as, oh, we just fell out of love. Like it wasn't anything that we had to do with it. No, we didn't work on it. There were things that we never were in alignment on that came to light, and we fought with each other, and we chose to separate. Are you with me so far? And that's the pieces we don't want to hear. So we start saying it's nobody's fault. We just fell out of love. And the sad part about that is so many relationships are passing on to our children, teaching them if we get to a point where we're not fulfilled with our desires or the relationship isn't going the way we want it to, we can just say we fell out of love. Years ago, 50% of marriages were ending in divorce. Now, 50% of second marriages are ending in divorce. 40% of third marriages are ending in divorce. Are you seeing a pattern here? We've gotten to a place to where now we can just get divorced because we fell out of love, and families are breaking and splitting, and children are seeing this, and something for the first time is happening at an alarming rate. People are just choosing, I'd rather not get married. And so we have this concept of we want love, but now there are people that are thinking there's no such thing as love. And what we base that on is true love or soulmates or twin flames or these romantic ideas that we're just going to meet and we're going to madly fall in love with each other and everything's going to be perfect. But that's not how it is. That's not how it's meant to be. See, the Bible actually tells us how to build and keep a strong, godly relationship. And I want to lean into that today. See, many of us have grown up hearing, well, love is a 50-50 thing. When we're married or when we're in a relationship, it's 50-50. That's not true. That's bad math. That's horrible math. That means that 50% of me is selfish and 50% of me is in it for you. It needs to be 100% of both people coming in. That's why the Bible says the two become one. We have to be one in our desire to work this out with each other. And if you turn to Ephesians chapter 5, if you're starting to date, wanting to date, or in a place to where you're like, I want a relationship, I want you to listen closely to this passage. And if you're married and there are some obstacles and struggles, I want you to listen close to this. We're going to start with Ephesians 5, verse 21. And I want to start by saying, do not unequally yoke yourself together with someone without a different belief, okay? It's worth in the beginning establishing ground rules of what you want to be in and what you don't want to be in, and also deciding, can we sacrifice and will we sacrifice for each other? So verse 21 says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. I want you to ask yourself this question. If I'm entering into a relationship, looking at a relationship, or in a relationship, can I submit to this person? If I'm married, I want you to ask this question. Do we submit to one another? And I don't mean, do they submit to you? Do they make you happy all the time? Because you could very well be the person that's always about you, and it's not about how you're changing for the other person or submitting to the other person. Now, there are some people going to say, that verse doesn't have anything to do with relationships. That's talking about the entire body of Christ. That came from Vodi Bakum and nowhere else. Let me share this with you. My wife is just as much a part of the bride of Christ as I am. And so if I submit to every part of the bride of Christ, I also submit to my wife. And the reason being is Jesus submitted to death on a cross for us so we could submit to life with him. Are you with me so far? Every relationship has to have give and take, but we have to be aligned in our core values to understand what that looks like. So verse 22, men have had this passage for a long time, and women have feared this passage for a long time. Are y'all with me so far? Ladies, can y'all just brace yourself? Because I promise you, the next passages are going to be edifying to you. But this first part, socially, is not going to fit with our world construct. This next part is going to cause deep offense, and it's going to be something that's traumatic for a lot of people because of the way our society has trained us. Verse 22, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. There are some men in here that are quiet right now, but they're sitting here secretly saying, preach that again. Hit that again. Get that woman to submit. Submit, woman. Do what I said, woman. Come on. Lord of the castle, king of the jungle, let's go. And the Bible is very clear on this. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. You're like, well, do we have a submission problem? Because our world has raised us to think, if the church is a picture of Christ and his bride, and marriage is a picture of us and the church, and we can't submit in marriage, maybe that's why people have struggled submitting to Jesus. Well, my husband's not Jesus. We'll cover that in just a second. But did you choose a partner you could submit to? Can you trust him? If not, why? What's going on there to where why is it offensive to submit to somebody unless you just don't trust them? Is it a trust issue or is it a self-power issue? Now, I want to point out a key piece in this. Submit yourselves to your own husbands. Are y'all with me so far? Don't submit to someone else's husband, and you don't need to be submissive to some other man. I got a serious question I want to throw in. If you can go to work during the day for another man and you can submit to him for a paycheck, but you come home and you can't submit to your own husband, what does that say? If a man can push a button and tell you to go get him a cup of coffee, but your husband can say, hey, could you grab me a drink out of the fridge? And you say, get it yourself. There's an issue because now you've put a dollar value on your submission, not the love that causes to submission. For the husband as the head of the wife, now I want you to underline this next word, as Christ is the head of the church. Now, a lot of times we hear that and we think, okay, he's God of the home. No. The husband is head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church. Now, Christ doesn't just sit there and say, church, do everything I say and everything I want. Christ led the way. Christ did it first. Christ died for the church. Christ sacrificed himself for the church so that the church could trust in his love that what he says and guides them to do is right. And so you're seeing there's this dual relationship here. His body of which he's the Savior. And I know in our world today, this is counter. In every TV show, dad's the joke. In every Disney movie, dad's the fool. Are you with me so far? We have deconstructed the role of dad and husband in the home. And you're like, well, I'm not married yet. Are you dating a man you can submit to and trust? If you could not trust him to make decisions, why would you be with him? Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Now, I want to say this. It sounds right now like there's some people who are going to take this and they're going to say, well, even if he's wrong and he's telling me to do something, honoring somebody, a lot of arguments come just because if a person's always in rebellion, maybe now that husband's going to start making bad decisions because he's just wanting some type of respect. But your life should be a life that shows you are capable of making these good decisions. That's why the rest of Scripture from this point lays into one powerful piece. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. My dad used to joke, and he'd say, my mom would come to him and say, Joel, you don't tell me you love me like you did before. And he said, I told you I loved you when I married you, and if anything ever changes, I'll let you know. Right? Men, we kind of fall in that. We're lovey-dovey in the beginning, and then it's like, aha, I got him. But listen to this. Love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Jesus left heaven, all the grandeur, all the glory, all the power, to come to earth and live in humble circumstances and for us to face rejection from everybody else. Jesus chose for us to be shamed by everybody else, to be repulsed by everybody else, just to show us how much he loved us. He died for us, giving up everything so that we could have everything. See, women were called to submission, but men are called to crucifixion. Listen to this, to make her holy. Men, if you want your wife to submit to you, is your goal to make her holy? Is your goal to give her a life to where she has honor, to cleanse her by the washing with water through the word? Are you just expecting her to believe you because you're supposed to be Christ in the home? Or are you growing in Christ to the point to where you can teach her and lead her? And present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. There's not a person in the church that's without wrinkle or blemish that's holy and blameless. But to him, we are. And so don't sit there and look at her and say, well, you can't wait. You got them sweatpants on again when I got home. Bro, she's still beautiful. She's your wife. Do not downgrade her. Don't talk about her. Don't put her down. That's your bride. You should be willing to throw punch somebody that comes against her. You should never be the person that comes against her. You should defend her and fight for her at every turn. Maybe she could submit to you if she knows you would die for her. All right, here we go. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. If you got a beer belly, so should she. Just saying, you're going to eat McDonald's on the way home, bring her fries. But he who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body just as Christ does the church. For we are members of his body. Do you get this? Jesus, what it's saying is this, man, if you want submission, then don't be that person they have to wrestle to submit to. And ladies, if you have a man that's striving here, he's not perfect either. He isn't Jesus, but you want him to grow to be better and better and better. And when we do this for each other, it's this thing where we're helping each other, we're balancing each other. And then verse 31 says, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Men, don't expect her to cook like your mama did. Don't compare her to your mama. That's creepy. You wonder why she's got a headache at night? Maybe because the visual representation she has in her head is you thinking about your mama. Don't bring that up. Don't call your mom. You should never, ever, ever have an ally against the person you love that you can go vent and talk negative about. You with me? Ladies, hold on, ladies. Don't tell your mom all the dirt on him. Don't go to the salon and be one of those girls that's in there saying, my husband, blah, blah, blah. No, that's what enemies do. We should be best friends. We should be life partners. We should be all in for each other. We should defend each other. We should fight for each other. If we got something to say, let's talk to each other. Don't get mad at somebody out there. Hold your tongue, come home and fight with the person that loves you. Come together and be allies so that you're strong enough to go out there and face a world that's always filled with opposition. Now, 1 Corinthians 13 breaks us down like this. Here's what love is, or what love isn't, and here's what love is. Are y'all still with me right now? All right, check this out. Verse 3, if I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, key part, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. So let me just walk this out real quick. I give you everything. Don't I give you everything? Didn't I put a ring on your finger? Don't I give you nice clothes? Don't you have a nice car to drive? Don't you have? If you're saying all those things and giving all those things, but you're not loving somebody, that's called narcissism. That's control. That's holding you over someone's head. You can do that and not love. You can be a philanthropist and not care about the poor just to put your name on a building. Love isn't about look at me, look at me, look at me, be thankful for me, be thankful for me, be thankful for me. Love is we're dying to self and we're providing for each other because we love each other. Listen to this, love is patient. Woo! I got a checklist for y'all to take home after this. You need this checklist to be able to fill it out. How you doing on these? Love is patient. You ever have your wife telling you something at the end of the day and you're like, I don't care what happened at 7-Eleven. Love is kind. You ever have your husband and he said, we won't go into that one. That was probably get edited out. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. We should be comfortable. Do you ever notice God doesn't have to glorify himself? Jesus does that for him. Do you ever notice Jesus never praises himself, but God says, this is my son with whom I love and I'm well pleased. Listen to him. Do you know why? Because Jesus says, your relationship should be like our relationship. I build him up. He builds me up. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. What do I get out of this? It's not easily angered. Here's a big one. Keeps no record of wrongs. Did you know we actually demand each other to do this? I'll give you an example. We get in a fight. You always do this. You always do this. You're feeling something that's repetitive and something is hitting you and it's constantly, but it may be a million different actions that you're feeling one emotion. Most of the time he's sitting there, has no clue. He's like, wait, this is the first time we ever went to Hardee's. And so he instinctively says this, what? When do I do this? When do I do this? And you love him, so you don't keep a record. So you're like, and you feel bad because you don't have the ammunition. And he's like, gotcha. And so you know what he just did? He just told you, keep a record. And you know what you do? You instinctively think, okay, I won't forget this. Next time, May 1st, June 23rd, July 8th, our anniversary. He told you to, and you are. You're keeping a record of wrongs. Stop that. Communicate with each other so you're straight. Love doesn't delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Don't say, I gotcha. Learn the truth from each other. It always protects. You say you love somebody, do you protect them? It always trusts. Always trust. Maybe they tell you something that seems like the craziest thing ever, but are they a liar? Have they got a track record of this, or is your instinct just not to trust? You gotta look at their phone all the time. Cool, me and my wife's phones are linked up. But don't live in suspicion if you see the truth there's nothing. Love always hopes. And here's the thing, we all fail at all of this, so the last piece is this, and it always perseveres, meaning we're all gonna fail, we're all gonna mess up, but perseverance is, okay, but we're gonna get better, and we're gonna fight for each other, and we're gonna keep getting back up and do this. Now, I'm not justifying abuse, I'm not justifying violence. God does not justify abuse or violence in this. In that situation, you need to back on up and get on away from her. You need to get away from him. If you're an abuser and you're violent, ain't nobody backing you up in that. But if it's just selfishness and the fact that we can't come together, nobody's defending that either. We take up our cross for each other just like we do for Jesus. Love never fails. So I want to give you guys a checklist to go through. If you're in a situation where you're in a relationship where it's like what you get and it's always about how you feel and it's always about what you need and you're not in love with somebody, if you're not feeling what you want out of it, that's called narcissism, and you're always going to feel like a victim and you're going to leave a bunch of bodies in your wake. So if you're in a situation where you're about to date or you're dating, I want to give you a checklist for you to slow down, don't jump in, and I want you a checklist of things to start looking at. 1, does this person have the same values as me before we go on the first date? First date, does this person have the same values as me? What are my values? Do we have the same beliefs, faith, worldview? Do we see the world through a spiritual lens or through a secular lens? How's that going to affect us when political seasons come up? How about how we raise our kids? How we discipline our kids? Will this person be patient with me and not rush me to do things before it's right? Do they want to see my walk with Christ succeed? Is that their number one goal in my eternal soul? Are they going to walk with me in my faith, or are they just going to support me to go be a Christian? Here's a big one. Can I submit to this person? And will I sacrifice for this person? If you are married, I want you to ask this question. Have we been guilty of justifying the frustration we have with each other? Have we been guilty of blaming each other about conflict instead of working through it? Are we trying just to figure out who's right in the conversation or to get to what's right? How long's it been since we've gotten real with each other without having to resort to threats, ultimatums, and manipulations? Are we able to be honest with each other so that we can understand our values and our beliefs and help each other come to the same view? Do we sacrifice for each other, and will we? Aren't we worth the sacrifice so that we have peace? Would we die for each other still? And I know I'm so far over time, but guys, this is such a big topic for me. I have men and women that will come in and they'll say, we just fallen away from each other and there's nothing we can do and we just can't work it out. And it breaks my heart even more when there's kids. And it's just like we simply have just drifted apart. And so I paint this scenario. I'm like, but don't you love him? Wouldn't you fight for him? Wouldn't you die? Oh, I'd die for him. I'd do anything for him. I just don't want to be married to him. And so I say, okay, but let's fix it. Let's work it out. We can't. It's impossible. It's not worth it. And so I say this. Let's say that there is a gate of hell right here, okay? Can y'all picture that with me? And some demon grabbed her and drug her over into hell, all the way over here. Now, you can go grab her and pull her back. But every split second you're in there, your whole body, everything about you is going to be in torment. And every split second is going to feel like 100 years. But she's right there. And you could run in and you could grab her and you would pull her out. Would you run into hell and grab her and pull her out if it would save her? Yes, I would. Then why won't you have a conversation? Why won't you fight for her right now if it can fix it? Don't we matter this much anymore? Is Jesus the true center of our relationship and the foundation of our lives? Do we understand each other's faith? Do we grow in it together? Do we pray for each other? Have we ever prayed together? This is your assignment this week. Talk with each other. Don't fall in love with each other. Love each other and choose to fight for that every day. And don't choose to jump into a relationship because you're lonely. Men, if you want a good woman, she's a daughter of God Almighty. Be the kind of man you would give your daughter to so the king can give you his. Women, if you want a good man, he's a son of the King on high. Be the kind of woman you would want your son to be married to so that God can give you his son. And I promise you, if we all live like this every day and we keep winning each other's hearts by submission and love, you'd be surprised what God can do in our homes. Amen? Stand up with me. We're going to sing. And today, if you're in here and you're like, man, I just don't feel loved, I don't have love, let me say this. You'll never find anyone that loves you more than God Almighty, who loved you so much, his son would come and give up everything to come and save you and redeem you, that you are precious to him, that you are beautiful to him, and he's never turned you, he's never rejected you, he's never abandoned you, and all he wants is you to walk with him, to understand loving him as he loves you, and you can begin a life-changing relationship today that will affect every relationship around you, but it's your choice. Before you can truly understand what it is to feel love, you have to accept the love that is offered to you. And if you're willing to chance that today, let him wash you, let him cleanse you, let him surround you. Be the family of God and watch what it changes in our world. Thank you.